and welcome to LearnCity. Today in this government class, we'll be looking at electoral system. Electoral system. An electoral system is defined as the process or method through which people of a given country elect their representatives into different political offices or positions in government. Electoral system is simply defined as the process, everything involved in the process of people choosing their representatives and putting them in office. So it includes the conditions necessary for the nomination of candidates, the processes for nomination of candidates, and the procedure and rule for election. An electoral system is just defined as the process or the method through which the people of a given country elect their representatives into different political offices or positions in government. Everything, right from the conditions necessary for you to be a candidate, the processes you have to go through, the process for nomination of the candidate, right to the procedure and the rule for the election, they are all called the electoral system. There are various types of electoral systems that are used in different countries. There are different types of electoral systems that are used in different countries. The first electoral system we'll be looking at today is what we call the simple majority or plurality system. The simple majority or plurality system. The simple majority or plurality system is simply an electoral system whereby a person is declared the winner of an election if they win the majority of the votes. So a simple majority or plurality system works this way. For example, we have 100 voters and then we have 3 candidates going for the post of a governor. The first candidate gets 45 votes, the second candidate gets 25 votes, and then the third candidate gets 30 votes. Now, the person with 45 votes is automatically declared the winner based on the fact that the person has the highest number of votes. So that is what we call the simple majority or plurality system. It is a system whereby a person is declared the winner of an election simply by having majority of the votes. The next electoral system we'll be looking at is what we call the absolute majority system. The absolute majority system. The absolute majority system is an electoral system whereby a candidate is declared the winner only if they win the absolute majority of the votes. By absolute majority of the votes, I mean half of the votes plus 1. So in the example I gave earlier, if we have 100 voters, the candidate will only be declared the winner if they have 51 votes. So the candidates can only be declared the winner if they have 51 votes. So anything less than 51 votes would call for what we call the second ballot system. That brings us to the next electoral system we'll be looking at, second ballot system. Now, the second ballot system is done when none of the candidates is able to gather an absolute majority of the votes. Then we do what we call the second ballot system. The second ballot system is done when we have 3 candidates or more and none of them is able to gather the absolute majority of the votes, that is half of the votes plus 1. So the candidates with the lower votes are eliminated. So in the example I gave earlier, the first candidate had 45 votes, the second candidate had 25 votes, and then the third candidate had 30 votes. Now the candidate with 25 votes is then eliminated. And then the citizens vote again to pick between the 2 candidates, that is the candidate that had 45 votes and the candidate that had 30 votes. Now they vote again to get the winner. Now the person with the highest votes in the second ballot system is declared the winner. Remember, in second ballot system, the second ballot system is done when none of the candidates are able to gather the absolute majority of the vote. Absolute majority of the vote simply means half of the vote plus 1. So if we have 100 voters, the absolute majority of the vote is 51 votes. 51 votes. The next type of electoral system we'll be looking at today is the single member with preferential votes or alternative system. Single member with preferential votes or alternative system. Now, this system is done in such this electoral system is done in such a way that the people that are voting they can choose their candidates in order of preference. So if you have 5 candidates voting, the way they vote is in front of every candidate's name there is a box. In front of the box, you write the number. So for your most preferred candidate, you put number 1. For your next preferred candidate, number 2. For your least preferred candidate, number 5. So in the single member with preferential vote system, every is a system whereby the people voting are able to choose their candidates in order of preference. So what we do in this how they count the votes in this system is they first count the first choice of every voter. So after counting the first choice of every voter, if nobody is able to reach the absolute majority of the votes in the alternative system or single member with preferential votes, what they do is that based on the amount of candidates we have and the voters, there is a cutoff mark. Let me put it that way. There is a cutoff mark you have to get to before you can be declared the winner. Now, what they do in this system, and this system is usually done for the parliament, it's usually done in the parliamentary system, when you are trying to choose people into the parliament. That is when we use the single member with preferential votes. It is used when you are trying to vote people into the parliament. So everybody, based on the amount of votes you're able to gather, then you're able to gain admission into the parliament. And if you do not meet the cutoff mark for the votes, you are cut out of it. So the single member with preferential votes is simply done in parliamentary system of government when you are trying to choose people into the parliament. So like I said, the single member with preferential votes works in such a way that you are able to pick your candidate according to your most preferred to your least, from your most preferred to your least preferred. So if you have 5 people going for a post in the parliament, what we do is we write the 5 persons' name on the voters on the ballot paper, and then you write the number based on your preference. So in front of your most preferred candidate, you put number 1. In front of your least preferred candidate, you put number 5. So when they are counting the votes for this election, they first count it according to your most preferred candidate. After counting your most preferred candidate, if the person goes over the cutoff mark, the amount of votes that the person uses to pass the cutoff mark is then removed, and then the second most preferred candidates of these individuals are then shared again to the votes of the other people. Now, whoever reached the cutoff mark again is whoever reached the cutoff mark, the person gains admission into the parliament. And then if the person also has extra votes, the extra votes of that person is distributed to the other candidates in the order of preference. Now, after choosing the first candidates, they share the excess votes from the first candidate. If there is an excess vote, they share the excess votes from the first candidate to the other candidates. Now, after sharing the excess votes to the other candidates, the person with the least results is eliminated. Now, the person with the least results, the person's vote is then distributed to the other members according to preference. Now, whoever reached the cutoff mark again gains admission into the parliament. And if the person also has an excess vote, the excess vote is equally distributed to the other candidates. And that is how the single member with preferential vote or alternative system works. The next type of electoral system we'll be looking at is the proportional representation. Proportional representation is an electoral system that allocates seats to people, that allocates seats to candidates based on the number of their votes. They allocate seats to candidates based on the number of their votes. So how this system only works in the legislature, when we are voting in the legislature. So every party is given a seat in the parliament based on the number of votes they have accumulated. Under the proportional representation, we have two systems, the list system and the single transferable vote. The list system is a system whereby a political party lists their candidates. They write the list of their candidates, and then after the vote is done, they are given seats in the parliament according to the number of votes they have gathered. While the single transferable vote is the same as the single member with preferential vote, while the single transferable vote is the same as the single member with preferential vote or alternative system. The people voting, they vote according to their preference. So the most preferred candidate, they write number 1. The least preferred candidate, they write number 5. So based on how I explained earlier, this is how they allocate seats to them in the parliament. This, as I said earlier, the proportional representation system is usually done when they are for the legislature, when they are trying to allocate seats in the legislature. The proportional, as I said earlier, the proportional representation system is done when they are trying to elect representatives into the legislature, when they are trying to elect representatives into the legislature. And with this, we've come to the end of the class. And with this, we've come to the end of this class. In the course of this class, we looked at the types of electoral system and the meaning of an electoral system. I'll see you in the next class.